You barnacle. And the other quail looks like he's about ready to jump on the Audi. Hi guys, it's MR2 time. Yay! Where's my arm? Here, this way? Why is this so hard to do? There. Hello. The 3S GTE that goes in Mr. Dose. It has a JDM Gen 2 3S GT, so it does not have an EGR system, and it did have the ceramic turbine CT26 turbo, but the ceramic turbine is broken. So right now bolted to the engine is a steel turbine CT26 from a Mark III Supra, which is also bad. I'm gonna start changing stuff that's just basic maintenance parts for this engine, and then I'm going to get the engine cleaned up. I'm taking the entire engine harness off right now. That's some janky haggard crap. Because I'm gonna clean this engine and I'm gonna start painting some of the brackets up. Why are you such a pain in the ass to get to? A lot of you would realize this is kind of excessive. I don't really need to take this engine harness off, but if you haven't noticed,
I found something on the web about why do I make bad life choices.
I'm a little bit excessive. This disconnected, this disconnected. What else is left? 3S GT is giving me KA vibes, because I remember when I had my S14, everything I needed to access on the KA was up underneath the intake manifold. Ta-da! I already see some wires that need some attention. And I'm gonna redo some of this wire loom. I want this to look like a new harness. So this is another reason why I want to take off the intake manifold, is this line right here goes to the blow-off valve, or from the factory I think it'd be the diverter valve if this thing had one. That line right there is got a small rip in it. So that's a good indication that there could be potentially more vacuum lines in there that have issues as well. I really want to clean up inside here too, because I want to make this aluminum look as new as possible, and I have to replace this valve cover gasket. Charlie recommended using this Etching mag wheel cleaner. I'm gonna try that out on the aluminum because he says it usually works on aluminum, right Charlie?
Yeah, it works great.
Oh wow, that's a big hawk. He's hunting mice. Hello, cam gears. It really sucks. It's damaged. Let's see what I can do. Maybe I can plastic repair that. Next, I gotta take off the alternator along with a whole slew of other parts. Slew is a word, I think. Slew. So I'm gonna take off this alternator. Ew, not shmoo. Oh my god, that was tight. That's what he said. I cracked myself up. Holy cripes. Oh, you barnacle. And then that spins, and then the stator is the field windings that go around the outside. And that's how electromagnetic induction occurs, right?
Yes.
This is all stuff I was tested on in the Air Force. I don't remember any of it. I didn't want to grab a Texas toothpick because I figured that'd be overkill. So I grabbed I don't know, I'd call this one a West Virginia toothpick. It's considerably smaller, but it'll still do the same job. Come, oust. Oh, there we go. Haha. Ooh, that's a heavy alternator. There we go. That's removed. Oh man. Put all these studs back where they came from. These guys go right here. I I swear my handwriting isn't that bad. I was trying to hold my camera with one hand, and then the other hand I was holding both the object I was writing on and the pen at the same time. It was really hard to do. Oh well. Did you just burp?
I did.
How rude. To get these two 12mm bolts out of the top of the valve cover that are attached to the intake manifold, I had to take this little inlet pipe off just to get to these two bottom 12mm bolts, because with that on there, I couldn't pull these all the way up. They were smacking the bottom of it. There's a fuel line that goes to the underside of the intake manifold and then to the fuel rail right over here. It's really hard to see. It's a 12mm bolt that goes to a banjo fitting. There's a quail walking on the roof rack of your Jeep, and the other quail looks like he's about ready to jump on the Audi. Intake manifold is off. Now I can get this thing cleaned up. I don't know the correct name of this part. I believe it's similar to on a Subaru, on a boxer engine, you have your TGV, which is like a little plate under your intake manifold, I believe. So you have like your actual throttle body at the top of the intake manifold, and then you have your TGVs, which are that plate down lower, and there's one on each side of the engine. It's kind of like a throttle body, but it's after the intake manifold bolted to the cylinder head. I don't know the technical term for it, sorry. Well, I'm really glad I pulled this off anyway, because I want to show you how disgusting the lower half of this intake manifold is. It's pretty nasty. So I'm gonna re-gasket this and I'm gonna clean it up as best as possible because it's pretty disgusting. So I wanna get this thing looking brand new again. I have to say, it actually looks pretty decent in here. This engine's not gunked up, that's for sure. A little bit of gunk over here in the back corner. Not really though, it's actually pretty clean. So I'm gonna get this wrapped up with some plastic, and here's all the parts I'm taking with me to get cleaned up. Everything's pretty much labeled. I'm putting all the hardware back in the hole in which it came from, so that way I don't have a lot of hardware that's, actually I have zero hardware off this engine right now. Every single piece of hardware is back in the hole in which it came from. So that should make reassembly much easier. So I'm gonna get these last few parts off and then I'll have everything ready to take to my house to get cleaned up. Today it's freezing out. It's really cold. I have my dryer turned on and the vent is underneath the tent and it's blowing warm air under here to keep me warm while working on the car. This guy, ooh, that's disgusting. I'm gonna clean this first. That's bad. I spent 2 hours scrubbing this thing. I think it was Dawn. Palmolive. This Palmolive. I just use regular old dish soap to clean all this goop and oil and crud. I think what I might do is just on the inside here, I might clean that up a little bit more, but all in all, it's pretty damn good. If there's one thing that I have to swear by, is using these nitrile gloves when you're working on anything, whether it be car detailing, washing engine parts, working on cars. This is something I've always done in my career when I was in the Air Force. Anytime I worked on equipment, I always had nitrile gloves on. It's really important. I'm actually just using some old Eagle 1 wheel cleaner that has been sitting around in Charlie's garage forever, and I'm just gonna use it up on these parts because it works pretty good for engine parts, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna show you me cleaning every single part. That would just be ridiculous. Well, it's another day and another Sarah. Same Sarah, different day. That failed. All the parts right here are ready to be painted. Some are getting painted, some aren't. So check this out. This is after cleaning them up as best as I could get them. Some of these finishes just will not clean, like this valve cover. It's clean, it just looks like crap. So I got this stuff, it's Metallicast. From what I read, it's supposed to just look like a raw, unfinished aluminum, but very silvery. So I'm gonna go with this because it's as close to pure aluminum as possible, I guess. I also picked up one of these. It's a black paint pen where it says Toyota on the valve cover. I'm gonna paint that black. So I got this little paint pen to do that. Intake manifold came out great though. definitely happy with how that turned out. And then the plastic covers, which I gotta fix one of those. That's probably not gonna happen in this video. Old school epoxy blow-off valve. I'm keeping it though, I think. So I have all the gaskets now, including the timing belt, the water pump, the thermostat, pulleys, everything I ordered for the engine. The only thing I don't have yet is the gasket between the intake manifold and the cylinder head, which I should have tomorrow. Getting almost everything ready to start putting this engine back together. Well, except for the turbo. I still don't know what I'm gonna do about the turbo. It's like I either buy a used 20B, so it's like 500 bucks for a used one, then I'm probably gonna need to rebuild it, or I buy like a GT 2871, which I think would be similar in flow and when it would spool and stuff, I think. So I don't know, I gotta figure out this whole turbo situation. Lastly, I got this stuff, semi-gloss black engine enamel. This is gonna be for the brackets I pulled off, as well as the engine block. I have another can because I'm gonna do the whole engine block with it too. To clean up these surfaces before I paint them, I'm using the X, which is really designed to prep your paint surfaces on your car before you put ceramic coatings or sealants on them. It's pretty awesome. So I'm actually using it to clean these up and prep these surfaces to paint. I've already tested it once on another piece and it actually works really well. On these pieces, there are some machined surfaces. Well, I mean, at one point in time they were machined. They're kind of rusty now. Like back here, a couple right here, mostly where it bolts up to the alternator and where it bolts up to the engine. I'm going to, rather than waste time taping all this off and masking it off, I'm just gonna spray everything and I'll hit these areas really lightly. And then when I'm done, I'll just go over them with some steel wool and I'll get them cleaned up. Save me a little bit of time. All the parts that are originally black, painted black now. The black engine enamel was actually a perfect match to the original finish. But next, I have the valve cover. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to clean this up with some double-aught steel wool before I go to paint it. Because I kind of want to see if I can bring this raw aluminum finish back. It cleaned it, but I'm not happy with the finish. So I'm about to go paint this valve cover. Part 2 of this video, I will be putting the parts back on the engine with new gaskets and doing plugs and fluids, a bunch of other stuff, getting this engine pretty much ready to stick back in the car. Kind of excited. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and part 2 will be coming up with the install of all these parts. So I'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye.
Cork soaker.
A cork soaker?
PG version of something else.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the R-rated version of that. It's one of my favorite things to do.